These drones are uncovering Russia war crimes. Russian President Vladimir Putin's expectations are being shattered at every turn in the war in Ukraine, as evidenced not only by Russia's failure to seize Kyiv as planned, but also by the exposure of alleged war crimes committed by soldiers in Bucha, a city close to the capital, in front of the entire world media. And the main orchestrators behind these revelations are drones. Welcome to Drone Zone, the channel that brings you the latest, most exciting news and info about drones. In today's video, we talk about how drones and satellite imagery are causing Russia to lose the war, so make sure to stay till the end of the video to know Russia's smart plan to respond. Throughout history, forces have been victorious in conflicts by exploiting new technologies to their own benefit. The English King Henry V's triumph over the French in the Battle of Agincourt in 1415 was made possible by his archers and their newly constructed longbows, which were able to rain arrows across a range that the French could not compete with. Another historic first may be witnessed during the battle in Ukraine, as technological advances cut through the fog of war, revealing the lies of the aggressors and speeding up attempts to bring about their defeat. Satellite images of murdered civilians that match videos of bodies at the roadside that were recorded weeks later are providing compelling evidence of Russian war crimes, persuading Western leaders to tighten sanctions against Russia and accelerate the delivery of weapons to the Ukrainian military in the country. However, it's unknown whether or not this will have an impact on the final outcome of the war, but it is clear that Russia's actions in Bucha are bolstering Ukraine's position at a time when the country is desperately seeking any additional leverage as Russian soldiers prepare for a fresh onslaught. While battlefield satellite imagery has been available to governments for decades and was instrumental in identifying war crimes during the Bosnian Civil War in the 1990s, most notably the location of a mass grave that contained many of the 7,000 Bosnian Muslims slaughtered in the town of Srebrenica in 1995, it has never been made available in such a timely manner to the general public as it is now. There's no indication that Putin and his battlefield commanders are concerned, let alone aware that their instructions and acts now leave an indelible record that's beyond their control and that could come back to haunt them in the future. They will be aware that in many previous conflicts, including the Syrian civil war, leaders such as Bashar al-Assad have escaped prosecution and have even been rehabilitated despite the theft of large troves of incriminating papers from government offices and police departments. However, this is not the only thing that Putin should take up from this experience. Following the catastrophic disintegration of Yugoslavia and the outbreak of the Bosnian Civil War, the War Crimes Court in The Hague relied on the testimony of political and military leaders to convict them of war crimes. As evidence in the prosecution of Bosnian Serb President Radovan Karadzic before the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, or ICTY, the tribunal presented a video of Karadzic looking over Sarajevo and committing civilians below to artillery and mortar fire. General Ratko Mladic, his military partner in the war crimes committed in Srebrenica, also had his words reverberate in his favor, as the video showed him on the outskirts of the city directing the filtering of civilians, many of whom would be slaughtered by his soldiers, who were acting on his orders to be brought in for questioning. That type of connection may be more difficult to establish with Putin, but his 20-page thesis published last summer on why Ukraine is not a country, as well as his television comments on why Russia should invade, will, if previous war crime courts are any indication, count against him as the author and director of the war. If Putin had to stand trial, it's possible that his disintegration would be traced back to his incapacity to recognize the deficiencies of his army and the strengths of the Ukrainian military. Because his men were unable to complete their first major aim, the seizure of Kyiv, they were forced to retire, exposing their tidal wave of horror. They engaged in horrific abuses as they have done so many times before in Syria, Chechnya, and Georgia. They perpetrated horrendous atrocities. As a result, Putin and his officials did what they've done so many times before. They lied to conceal their involvement in criminal activity. If you've made it this far, I would really appreciate a subscribe before we continue. It helps me greatly in growing the channel. Russian defense officials stated on April 2nd that photographs and videos of killed people, some of whom were shot in the head and others who had their hands and legs bound, were fake, claiming that their troops had departed the area before the crimes took place. The forces withdrew from the city on March 30th, according to a statement from the military ministry. What happened to the videotape that had been missing for 4 days? Their absence merely serves to corroborate the forgery. They were quite specific about when they wanted to meet. Russian soldiers departed the Bucha town region as early as the 30th of March, insisted Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in a poor attempt to cover up his administration's bungled response. However, satellite photographs from the space technology company Maxar taken on March 18th, when Russian soldiers were in control, showed the civilians lying dead by the roadside in precisely the same locations as they were discovered by Ukrainian forces when they re-entered the town in early April. In addition, a drone video taken before March 10th showed a cyclist being shot and killed by Russian soldiers. Ukrainian forces discovered his remains a few weeks later, near the spot where he had fallen. The public's perception of the battlefield has been revolutionized in the months leading up to Russia's invasion and in the days following the release of Maxar's photographs, which tracked Russian forces and their destruction on the battlefield. When combined with the near-universal use of smartphone cameras, geolocation technology, and sophisticated drones, Putin faces the possibility of facing the consequences of earlier conflicts. As part of his video address delivered on Monday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for more cameras and greater access to allow the public to see for themselves. This is what we're interested in: maximum access for journalists, maximum cooperation with international institutions, enrollment of the International Criminal Court, complete truth, and full accountability, he said in his address to the nation. Although Ukraine's enigmatic leader has realized that high-tech tank-busting weapons such as javelins and NLAWs, as well as air defense missiles such as Stingers and Starstreaks, have the potential to turn the tide of war, he has also realized that it's not only conventional weapons that can turn the tide of war. It's truth and the technologies to deliver it, satellites, drones, and cell phones, that are already in place. Technology has the potential to provide the underdog an unexpected advantage in a modern battle, undercutting the falsehoods of a large aggressor in a way that has never been seen before. When he addressed the United Nations, Zelensky made it clear that he wanted them to grasp the situation. It is now the year 2022. We have conclusive proof in our possession. There are satellite images that can be found. In addition, we have the ability to undertake thorough and transparent investigations. Zelensky, like Henry V of England in 1415, recognizes an opportunity when he sees it. Satellite photography, while it may not be as game-changing as a 6-foot U-branch and length of hemp string, may be able to push Putin to the negotiating table far sooner than the Russian president would prefer if he can utilize it effectively. That's it for today's video. Let me know if you think this will affect Russia at all during the war. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video just like I've enjoyed making it, and make sure to comment with any future videos that you're interested in watching. I'll be seeing you all soon, but until then, watch this video to learn more about how the US's Switchblade suicide drones are shifting the war balance. And as always, subscribe or crash.